Well, good morning, everyone, on this beautiful, beautiful morning, right here on the corner of 85th Street and 5th Avenue. Joining us today is we're about to name this corner Firefighter Michael G.Behette 9/11 Memorial Way. We're going to begin our ceremony, as always, with the presentation of colors and our national anthem. So I'll ask everyone now to please stand for the presentation of our colors.
Detail, get up! Walk down, halt! Hold on, halt! There, hey!
Please remain standing now for the singing of our national anthem. Our national anthem this morning will be sung by Daniel Rodriguez, an international opera star known as America's tenor and a former New York City police officer. Let's welcome Daniel Rodriguez for our national anthem.
Margo.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Please remain standing for our invocation. Our invocation this morning will be given by a family friend, Father Antoine Risk, a pastor of the Church of the Virgin Mary here in Brooklyn, New York. Father Risk.
Please bow your head.
Someone had told about his experience about his visit to Vietnam Memorial War in Washington, D.C. with some friend. He said, several years ago, I had the opportunity to make a trip to Washington, D.C. with some friends. We made a visit to Vietnam Memorial War. As you may know, the monument is a long black granite wall with thousands of names of those who lost their lives in the war. He said the thing that caught my eyes was how different people approached the war once they found the name of a loved one. They moved very slowly as if approaching something sacred and would then touch the name. Some stood quietly, running their fingers gently over the letters. Others wept, and some knelt. To those who knew the person behind the name, it represents all the memories, the history, the personality, and love created between them. It represents someone who made a difference to somebody. Dear God, we thank you for Michael Behette, for the difference he has made in the lives of many. for the selfless, untiring duty and gifts he had given with his life. We stand here today in his honor as a firefighter, mindful that there is no greater sacrifice than for someone to lay down his or her life for another. In this occasion, we honor and pray for all these brave firefighters. We are humbled by the sacrifices made by them and their families. May you protect them and us from any danger and harm, and may your unfailing love enable us always to be self-giving people whose names are written by you, O loving God. Amen.
Please remain standing as we retire the colors. Please retire the colors.
Right. Hey. Forward. What? Left. 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 Right. Left. 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 Right. Left. Left.
You may be seated. When one talks about heroes, you have to pause and consider whether we speak of a contemporary icon that is a hero for the moment in sports or in the media, but is soon forgotten in favor of another temporary hero. Yet today we speak of a real hero, a hero we knew as Michael Behette, who because of his demeanor, character, and accomplishments will be as much of a hero years down the road as he is to us here today. So I must first thank everyone who has joined us this morning to honor a real hero, someone who lived a life for others, firefighter Michael Behette. I'm proud to have introduced in the New York City Council the legislation to name this street and have it signed into law by the mayor. I want to thank the Department of Transportation for their cooperation in installing the sign for this ceremony. I want to thank Community Board 10, several members of the board are here with us today, for beginning the process of this street naming, to the 6-8 precinct for all their assistance in setting up this street for us and making us all safe this morning, and most of all, to the Behette family, especially his mother Madeline, brother Anthony, and sister Marguerite. There are many members of the family here today. Let's have them stand and give them a nice round of applause. Can the family please stand? Thank you. Also with us today, and we're so honored to have them, is some of the top brass of the FDNY, whom I'll introduce in just a few moments. And also with us is the FDNY ceremonial unit led by Lieutenant Joseph LaPointe, who will assist us and has been assisting us this morning and throughout this ceremony. Let's give both the ceremonial unit as well as the FDNY Color Guard and the FDNY Emerald Society Pipes and Drums a nice round of applause for their participation. And I know he can't stay with us long, and he may be gone already, but I do want to take a moment to thank America's tenor for that beautiful rendition of the national anthem, Daniel Rodriguez, our good tenor. I wanted to start this morning with a brief passage from the Bible, which was chosen by Michael's family and was placed on the memorial posters and cards that were designed by Art Aid, and you see here today, and is right here on the posters and the cards that you have received. is from the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 13. And the verse is right here. It says, "Greater love has no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends." As we all know, Michael certainly lived out those words of the Apostle John. As you will hear this morning, Michael Behette was a friend to every member of the community who crossed his path. Many people, even strangers, spoke of being drawn to Michael. Indeed, as you listen to others speak of Michael, you hear them tell stories of how Michael was a light in the dark to so many people, and how on so many occasions Michael was the one who was there in the time of need. Coincidentally, but somewhat poetically, this past Thursday we saw the opening of the ambitious 9/11 Museum at Ground Zero. It seems appropriate then that we gather today, a few days after the National September 11th Memorial Museum was dedicated, in order to honor today a local hero who gave his life as a result of his work at Ground Zero in the wake of September 11th. In doing so, we acknowledge an attempt to comprehend just how far-reaching the September 11th attacks have been throughout the years, when today, some 13 years later, we are still rebuilding, recovering, and commemorating the victims of the tragedy on that day, and ensuing victims like Michael in the years hence. This morning we gather for the purpose of renaming a part of our city in honor of a person whose contribution to our city was unforgettable and everlasting. To put it simply, we rename pieces of our city because of people who help keep us together. People like firefighter Michael Behette. The fact that so many of you have joined us here this morning is testament to the impact that Michael had on the lives of others, both within and apart from the New York City Fire Department. And so it seems only right that we honor Michael and his enduring legacy by dedicating a part of the city he loved so much in his everlasting memory. And what better place to commemorate Michael than right here, down the block from where he grew up and where his mother Madeline still lives today. Although never married, Michael had an enormous family to match his enormous heart. Indeed, Michael's family included his community, his country, and the prestigious FDNY. Michael was a firefighter for over 20 years at Ladder 172, Engine 330 in Bensonhurst, and many of those members of Ladder 172 and 330 are with us right here today. Let's give them a nice hand for being with us for this ceremony. Throughout his career, Michael received multiple medals and commendations for various rescues and operations. Like his family in the FDNY, Michael thought nothing of racing into burning buildings to save lives on a daily basis. Like the time Michael climbed up the ladder during a blaze in Bensonhurst and with one hand pulled a woman out through a broken window, bringing her to safety. Michael joined the fire department in 1981 and was assigned to Ladder 172, Engine 330 in Bensonhurst. And as I said, many of those members that are assigned there today are with us in honor of Michael. But on the morning of September 11th, 2001, Michael was on vacation in Florida. He was getting a well-deserved break on a cruise in the Florida Keys. On that unforgettable Tuesday morning, when Michael first heard the news that the World Trade Center had been attacked by hijacked planes, Michael just knew that he had to interrupt his vacation and get back to New York, so he immediately tried to find a flight home. Here's a guy on a cruise in the middle of the Florida Keys, and in an instant, he leaves it all behind. All his clothes, everything he took on vacation. Michael just grabbed his wallet and left for the airport. But in a state of emergency, everything had been shut down. Everything from the Chrysler Building to Disney World had been locked down out of an abundance of caution immediately following the attacks. Air traffic and all airline flights across the country were grounded. The entire airspaces of the United States and Canada were closed. Domestic planes were diverted to the nearest available airport. Even Amtrak was temporarily closed. Dedicated firefighter Behette now faced the transportation problem. How would he get back to New York City without being able to buy a plane or a train ticket? So some 1,500 miles from home, Michael was forced to rent a car. Without hesitation, Michael decided he would drive 24 hours straight to be back in New York City. He knew he had to be with his family, his city, and his comrades in the FDNY. He could not stand to be away from them all during their time of need. Along the way, rushing to get home to the city he loved, he even got a speeding ticket. And his mom saved the ticket. I have it right here. He was clocked at doing 90 miles an hour. Michael drove through the day and night until he finally reached his destination, Ground Zero, where he joined his brothers and sisters on the pile. Just 24 hours after he first learned of the attacks while in Florida, Michael was working to help recover his fallen brothers and sisters, his fellow Americans at Ground Zero in the city and country he so clearly loved. Michael would stay to work on the pile for many, many months, day and night removing debris and hoping against hope to find some light in the seemingly never-ending darkness. In recognition of his heroic acts, Michael was among 30 other New York City firefighters that were honored at the annual Gasparilla Parade in Tampa, Florida in February 2002. All through the parade crowd in Florida, people were wearing FDNY hats and waving American flags. They all wanted to have their pictures taken with Michael, running up to him with cameras and asking for autographs. They were all chanting, "We love New York, we love you guys," and USA, USA, USA. And you can see actually the article from St. Petersburg Times on that parade. It's here on the memorial board up front. Michael is pictured on the front page of that coverage of the St. Petersburg Times covering that parade. So later on you can go by and take a look at that front page story. Firefighter Michael Behette must have shaken and slapped 500 hands at that parade. But no matter how much fun Michael and his fellow firefighters had at the parade, or how good it felt to get away, none of them could forget their friends who weren't there. Later in 2002, Michael decided to retire and spent the next several years taking care of his family, spending time with his nieces and nephews, and catching up with friends. In 2011, Michael, who had never smoked a single cigarette, was diagnosed with metastatic lung cancer, directly related to dust from the pulverized buildings and his exposure to the air all those months working on the pile at Ground Zero. On September 17th, 2012, just over 11 years to that fateful day, Michael passed away at the untimely age of 55. And to the very end, Firefighter Behette was still looking out for others. His mother tells a story about when a friend of Michael's called looking to see him. The friend had heard Michael was sick, and she wanted to visit, but the friend herself was suffering from a severe migraine. Michael, even in his weakened state, suffering with the metastatic lung cancer, wanted to help his friend with the migraine and offered to go to visit her instead. This was the kind of man that Michael Behette was, always putting others first, and he simply wouldn't have it any other way. After Michael passed away, his family and friends organized a fundraiser in his memory. Selling t-shirts and raffles, they were able to raise enough money to purchase the truck that you see here behind me today. This truck, in Michael's memory, is a Chevy Tahoe, which is now used to transport sick firefighters and or their families back and forth to treatment at places like Sloan Kettering in Manhattan. So you see, even in his absence, Michael is still helping others. Michael Behette gave his life for his city, his country, his family, and his friends. And so today I can think of no better way to honor him in his everlasting spirit than to rename this corner, Michael Behette 911 Memorial Way. This will forever honor Michael, and maybe that street sign will help inspire us all to live like Michael did, in sacrifice for others, offering to run in even when everyone else is running out. May Michael's name continue to serve our community as a tribute to all those who have given their lives in service to our city and our nation. And when the sun shines down on that new street sign in just a few minutes, may it serve as a reminder of our bond, not only as New Yorkers, but as Americans. Thank you for joining me today to honor this tremendous hero, and may God bless the memory and soul of firefighter Michael Behette. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so honored and pleased to have with us here the many brass from the FDNY, but particularly the top man at the FDNY, our commissioner. And Sal Casano has a long history in the FDNY, and although he will be leaving, we are just most pleased to know that he's here with us today as the commissioner. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome New York City Fire Commissioner Sal Casano.
Thank you, Councilman Gentile. Those words were just spectacular. Throughout the city, there are streets named for so many New Yorkers. People who grew up in the city and went out and became famous well beyond the 5 boroughs. There are streets named for athletes and famous political leaders. But most important of all, there are streets named for those who served the city with pride and dignity and gave their lives protecting others. True heroes. Firefighter Mike Behette was one of those true heroes. He spent 20 years here in the FDNY, working in a great firehouse, Lab 172 Engine 330. He gave his all to this department on every tour. And when he was needed most, on September 11th, Councilman Gentile described the story of Michael, no way to get back up here and jumping in a car and driving. I know about the speeding ticket. I would have taken care of that if you would have given it. I would have. You got a few weeks for me to take care of it, so. For weeks, like so many other FDNY members, he worked at the World Trade Center site, seeking to bring all of those that were killed that day, including the 343 members of the FDNY. And sadly, like far too many of our members, Michael's tireless work would lead to the disease that would eventually take his life. Michael is remembered with those members of our department in a place of honor at headquarters on our World Trade Center Memorial Wall. And there's far too many of them there, and there's far too many that we placed there in the later years. And he's remembered in his firehouse as well, where he served so many years, and even after his retirement, still did all he could for the firehouse and the department as we recovered from September 11th. And as of today, he will always be remembered on the block where his family and he grew up. With the street renaming today, we're making certain that Mike's name lives on, because that's what a New Yorker and a firefighter of his caliber deserves. When people look up at this street sign, they won't see the name of a famous person or an athlete. They'll see an ordinary New Yorker like them, who did extraordinary things and risked his life to save others. And they'll see one of the most important names who served with such pride and dignity. And Michael will continue to inspire others, like he did in his entire life. God bless firefighter Michael Behette, the entire Behette family, and all those suffering from the illnesses through their work at the World Trade Center site. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner, and I think on behalf of all New Yorkers, I say thank you for your service and best of luck in the future, too. Let's have a nice hand again for Commissioner. I do want to recognize some of the other members of the FDNY that have joined us today. We have with us to recognize FDNY Deputy Chief Richard Howe, Division 8 Commander. Thank you for being with us. Also with us is FDNY Deputy Assistant Brooklyn Borough Commander, Chief James Leonard. We also have FDNY Citywide Tour Commander, Deputy Chief Mark Ferrin. Also have Assistant Commissioner Suzanne Siebert from the Family Assistance Unit. And FDNY Community Coordinator for Operations, Linda Thompson. We also have the Brooklyn United Firefighter Association trustee, John Kelly. And we have from the fire family group that takes care of this truck, we have Danny Price. Danny, thank you for being with us. And everyone received one of these cards, or should have received one of these cards in the program. And these cards are put together by a group called Art Aid that since 9/11 has been doing this as a memorial free of charge to the families, to all of us. So we want to give them a nice hand for doing this as a memorial card. And the programs that you see here and the program that we're doing now is put together by my staff that have worked very, very hard to put this together. So I want to thank them, especially my staff member, Sarah Steinweiss. So let's give it. Ladies and gentlemen, we've also been joined this morning by a number of my colleagues in government, and I'd ask them to say a few words now. I'll start off with our local state senator who is here, and so let's give a nice hand now to State Senator Martin J. Golden.
Ladies and gentlemen, give a round of applause to Vincent Gentili, our council member, for a great successful morning here today for the Heady family and for the Bay Ridge community. You know, I look out into this audience and I see Bay Ridge. This is Bay Ridge. It's also the men and women of the New York City Fire Department and the other first responders that came out today to honor such a great, great man. Madeline herself was a civil service cop many, many years ago. She got off the job, forced to retire. So she has civil service inside of her body, so does her kids. And that's service to our communities. Kids worked at Victory Memorial Hospital. They own the in-laws, own the ice cream store right behind us, Logue's Ice Cream Store, Pinch's. Owned apartment buildings and took care of the people that lived in our communities and still do. Raised this family through tough times. And she's seen the greatness of our community, the greatness in God. And he's also seen the tough times of losing a great son. You can always find Madeline at the 5 o'clock mass at St. Anselm. No offense, Father. But she's there. And she was there when her son was dying in tears. And she was there when her son passed in tears. But she knew that he was home and that he was safe and that he wasn't hurting any longer. And that's what our community is all about. You see, I was a police officer, but I couldn't be a fireman. I couldn't run into those fires. It takes a certain cut of the cloth of this great city to be able to sacrifice and to do what these men and women do. Those chiefs, those firemen, They got off that truck that day, and they looked at each other. Some said it, some didn't. But it was common knowledge that day when they went into that building that firemen would die. They knew it. And they made sure they watched out for their team as best they could. But that's the type of men and women they are. And because of them, thousands more could have died. Because of the evacuation, many people lived. We lost close to 3,000. Pennsylvania, Pentagon. That 9/11 memorial this week was heart-wrenching. But those planes, they didn't come in here to attack a Democrat or a Republican or a fireman or a police officer. They came in here to attack the American spirit. They came to take our soul and heart out of this nation. And our firemen and our police officers and our first responders showed they weren't going to take that from us. This nation showed that they weren't going to take that from us. Michael paid with his life. Many will still pay with their lives. But this is the strongest and greatest nation under one God, under a great flag. And this memorial, this one here today, shows that we will never forget Michael. We will never forget the Behette family. And we will never forget the members of the New York City Fire Department that were lost that day and will die in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm proud to represent this community, and I'm proud to be your friend and a friend to the Behette family. God bless you. God bless Michael. God bless this great city. And God bless the United States of America.
Thank you, Senator. We also, as I said, have with us members of Community Board 10, and they are the ones who began this process. So I don't know exactly where you are, but those from Community Board 10, could you raise your hand so we can say thank you for being here? Community Board 10, thank you. Thank you very much. Also with us today, you know that Michael's firehouse actually is in Community Board 11 in Bensonhurst, ladder 172, engine 330. So with us today from Community Board 11 is their district manager, Marnie Elias Pavia, and their vice chair, Lori Windsor. Thank you very much for being with us. Also with us today, representing Congressman Michael Grimm, I just want to acknowledge her, Fran Vella-Marone. Fran, thank you for joining us. And also representing Controller Scott Stringer, we have Josh Levin. Thank you, Josh, for being with us. And we also have with us a former colleague of mine in the New York City Council, now candidate for Congress, Dominic M. Recchio Jr. Dominic, thank you for being with us. Another of my colleagues in government is our local assemblyman, and I'm going to ask him to come and say a few words right now. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our assemblyman, the Honorable Alec Prasny.
Thank you so very much. Well, first of all, I want to thank Michael's family, Michael's mom, and of course Community Board 10, Community Board 11, and our great Councilman Vinnie Gentile, and his staff works very hard for this community. I'm very thankful and humble and grateful for the ability to hold this mic and say a few words. Words that's in my heart right now. Knowing Michael's story, how he left the vacation spot, a great spot by the way, and been driving 90 miles an hour to get to a very different spot in the world. thinking of a definition of the word hero. To me, Michael not only a community hero, now citywide hero. To me, Michael is a world hero. You might ask, why? You know, if you look at Michael's picture, and you can do that now, like I'm looking at his wonderful face, you just don't see a world hero in the way we understand the world hero is supposed to look in the picture. You know, the irony is that I think because of this, that some people in this world, maybe not in this country, but in some other parts of the world, are expecting world hero to be a very strong and aggressive man who's maybe to take a part of some other country. In fact, world hero is very different. The greatest world heroes, they all look like this. They all look like Michael. A great face, smiling, not only non-aggressive, but really just very friendly. Very friendly, and maybe even self-irony a little bit in his eyes, you can see. I don't know, Mom, if I'm right, but that's the way I feel. If this kind of people would be in our world, a real world heroes for the majority of this world, we wouldn't have 9/11 at all. We would have a great world with smiling and friendly people. I think what's important about today's ceremony, we all have to understand it. We all have to understand the meaning of to be proud to be an American. It means when you're called by your community, your friends, or your country, you're leaving a great spot like Keys in Florida, and you just go, maybe even without being called by the country at the moment. And because in this country, in this community, in this city, in this state, we consider this kind of people a heroes, a world heroes. That's why we're so proud to be in Americans. Because this country is cherished, wonderful, friendly, smiling people, but people who are ready to give their lives to their country without being very aggressive, without being very loud. And that's what makes America great, and what makes our communities great. That's what makes me very proud to represent this particular part of the world. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Thank you for being here with us today. Bay Ridge is fortunate to have not one Assembly member, but two members of the Assembly that cover our area. So I'm going to ask our second Assembly member to speak today from Bay Ridge also, Assemblywoman Nicole Maliotakis.
Councilman Gentili for doing this for our community and doing this for his family and for the FDNY, so we could remember Michael and the beautiful contribution that he gave to our city, and that is his life. Today is really beautiful. It's a clear day, just like it was on September 11th. It was actually quite overwhelming as I was thinking about it in my seat. Since that day, a whole generation has grown up, and we now have new teenagers that are learning about what that day really meant and how it affected our entire world. And it's so fitting that we're here today with the opening of the museum this week. This street, the museum, will all serve as a way to educate not only this new generation, but future generations of the contributions that so many made that day and continue to make. It's so evident that we did not just lose what we lost on September 11th, that for generations to come, we will be emotionally affected by this. We will continue to lose people who were volunteers on that day, who are heroes, like Michael, who are suffering tremendous amount of illness. And as Senator Golden said, the number of individuals that we lose, unfortunately, are going to continue to grow for years to come. We have so many people like Michael who are giving their lives each and every day. And this serves as a beautiful opportunity to remember those individuals, to thank those officers who are here today for their sacrifices of what they do each and every day, and remember how truly dangerous and how selfless they are to be doing what they do to serve the city of New York. With that, I just want to thank Michael's family for sharing him with us. We will remember him. We will always cherish him. And I want to thank all the men and women of the FDNY for the sacrifices they made, not only on September 11th, the sacrifices and the risks they take each and every day to protect us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblywoman. Thank you for being with us here today. One of our citywide elected officials, New York City Public Advocate Letitia James, wanted to be here this morning. She called and said she got delayed, but she did want to make a presentation to the family of a proclamation from the Public Advocate's office. So to do that, she had asked that her borough coordinator come and make that presentation. So on behalf of New York City Public Advocate Letitia James, I introduce her borough coordinator, John Mancuso. John.
Thank you, Councilman Gentili. On behalf of New York City Public Advocate Letitia James, she just wanted to send her love and gratitude to the Behette family. And I'm not going to read the whole proclamation because it's been highlighted here today, but it does say, therefore be it resolved that I, Public Advocate for the City of New York, Letitia James, recognize firefighter Michael Behette for his service and an individual worthy of our highest respect and esteem, and may be further proclaimed that today, May 17th, 2014, be a day of honor to Michael Behette for his many achievements and service to this great city. So, on behalf of the Public Advocate Letitia James, we present you with this proclamation in Michael's honor.
Thank you, John, and please thank Public Advocate Letitia James for us, too. Thank you so much. As you can see, probably, if you didn't know yet, that Michael was a Beatles fan. He loved the Beatles, right? Mrs. Behette, right? So we'll let that siren go by for a second. All in the service of New York City, right? Okay. It's all good, it's all good. So we thought, as a sort of an interlude, and for the benefit of the fact that Michael was such a fan of the Beatles, that we have a little musical interlude of Let It Be. And to sing the Let It Be will be vocalist Vanessa Modafferi, who, in addition to being a very accomplished vocalist, is a member of my staff. So not only do we put the program together, but we provide some of the interlude too. So ladies and gentlemen, Let It Be, the Beatles, Vanessa Modafferi.
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be, let it be, let it be, oh, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. And when the broken-hearted people living in a world agree, there will be an answer, let it be. Though they may be parted, there is still a chance that they will see. There will be an answer. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be, Lord. Let it be. There will be an answer. Let it be. Let it be. Let it be, let it be, Lord, let it be. Whisper words of wisdom, let it be. Cloudy, there is still a light that shines on me. Shine until tomorrow, let it be. I wake up to the sounds of music. Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. Let it be. Let it be.
Thank you. That's Vanessa Montefiore. Let it be. Thank you so much. As we know, Michael spent his career at Ladder 172, Engine 330 in Bensonhurst. And it was a family and a home away from home. So to commemorate his time with the FDNY, probably no one other than a lifelong friend and colleague of his at Ladder 172 is here to say a few words. So ladies and gentlemen, from Ladder 172, let's welcome Firefighter John Diodato.
Wow, tough act to follow, huh? Good morning to the Behette family, Fire Commissioner Sano, and all elected officials. Mike was a good fireman and a good friend. One of the most decorated firefighters in Ladder 172. He truly loved life. Mike loved to travel. He also loved the New York Jets and attending every game he possibly could. He also wanted to be around people. He would talk to just about anyone. Mike would pop up in the most unexpected places, like on television between plays of the Jet game or on a Larry King show. On 9/11, he was unable to get a flight back from Florida, so he rented a car and he drove nonstop, except to get a ticket to Virginia. Mike wanted to be where he was most needed. He wanted to be with his brother firefighters at Ground Zero. Months later, Mike also responded to the crash of Flight 587 in the Rockaways while off duty. He assisted in fire suppression and recovery. Mike was always ready to help. So how do you surmise a man's life? I guess you add together his actions and his deeds. Using this formula, we can really figure out that Mike was really a good man. I know Mike is smiling down upon us now, and he's pleased that we are honoring him in this ceremony. He will be remembered not only by all of us, but by everyone who passes this corner and sees that sign. God bless Mike. God bless his family. Thank you.
Thank you, Firefighter John Diodato. Thank you so much. Well, that was Michael's professional life, but no one probably knows him better than his family. And of his family, probably no one better than his mom, who's been a source of strength and courage through this entire ordeal. She has worked hard with my office to put this ceremony together today, and she asked to say a few words at the ceremony. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a nice hand to Michael's mother, Madeline Behette.
On behalf of my family, I would like to thank Councilman Vincent Gentili for working with City Council to pass this street name into a law, and his staff, and especially Sarah Weinstein, in organizing today's event. I would also like to thank Josephine Beckman, Brian Kiernan, and all of the Community Board 10 for passing this petition to rename this street in Michael's honor. Thank you to Fire Commissioner Salvatore Cassano, Deputy Chief Richard Howe, Lieutenant Joseph LaPuente, and the FDNY Ceremonial Unit and Bagpipers for being a part of today's event, and to the 6-8 precinct for helping out today as well. Thank you. Thank you to Father Antoine Rizzo and Monsignor David Casato for being here today to pray for our family and bless this day with your presence. And lastly, a very big thank you to all of the elected officials, family, friends, and of course the FDNY family that came out today to support Michael and his memory. Now I'd like to say a little bit about my Michael. Okay. Well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a little. I am setting you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. Matthew, mission for the many heroic endeavor you made. Consider it all a part of the job. As you extended assistance to anyone who needs help, whether stranger, friends, family, you treat them all the same. When you acted as a peacemaker with family and among your friends, when you helped the jobless get jobs, as you confronted and encouraged the downtrodden and the hurting, when you extended yourself for the sick people, by delivering them to medical facility and being present for them, even at your last surgeon at Sloan, when you heard that a friend of yours was unable to come to visit you because of severe migraine, your immediate reaction was, get ready, I'm coming to take you to the doctor. She had to remind you that you are at Sloan and you are sick. Whenever you selflessly express utmost care, compassion, love, and help to all whom you needed. When you became a sunshine, a strength, a joy, a caregiver, a confidant, and best friend to all. As you expressed an attitude of gratitude of whatever came your way. You were so concerned about me, yes, me, his mother, that Barbara Pagano's sister reported to me that everyone who entered your room at Calvary was given a commission to keep an eye on me and care for me. I would like to thank all those here sharing with us this great honor of street naming ceremony for my Michael. He united his family and his friends and continued to be the glue that keeps us together. As many of you know, it's a true, as many of you, true to your promise to Michael, have kept in touch, ensuring that I am well. Yes, my son, you were given certain talents and gifts to share with all people, and you did so generously in your community, and wherever you were planted, the sharing of your talent and gifts continue to bear the fruit of love, joy, peace, kindness, gentleness, generosity, patience, goodness, and unity, and evident by all those who are present here to honor my Michael today. And they show their appreciation of their association with you. Indeed, Michael was a faithful over a little and is now being gained over much as he is invited to enter into the joy of his master and continue the work he began on earth. Well done, good and faithful friend and son. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Ms. Behette. Thank you so much. We also, I do want to, before we get to the unveiling, I want to thank the New York High School Key Club student volunteers who helped us here today. And we've also been joined by Monsignor David Cassano, who is the pastor at St. Athanasius Church in Bensonhurst, and he was the pastor who actually blessed this van when it was purchased. So, and in just a few minutes, he will be giving the blessing once the sign is unveiled. So now we've come to the time that we've all been waiting for, the unveiling of the the sign Firefighter Michael G.Behette, 911 Memorial Way. What I'm going to ask, as we're doing at the moment, the family to come up front by the sign, along with our pastors and our elected officials. And once the sign is unveiled, we will then have the FDNY Emerald Society Bags and Drums, Firefighter Regina Wilson, and the FDNY Emerald Society Bags and Drums will sing God Bless America. Unveiling and then the singing of God Bless America, Firefighter Regina Wilson, and the blessing by Monsignor David Casado. That will conclude our ceremony.
They'll take care of it. They got it. They got it. One, two, three.
This is the second copy of the sign that's right up here, for those of you who can't see it. This is the second sign, and I will present this to Ms. Behette and to the family. So here you go, and I ask Monsignor to please bless both signs.
Let us remember that we are in God's presence today on this wonderful, beautiful day. Let us pray. O Lord our God, we ask in a very special way to watch over, bless, and protect all of us as we dedicate this street, this way, to Firefighter Michael G.Behette, 911 Memorial Way. Bless this sign, and may we truly always be mindful of all those who have given their life in service, and may we never forget Michael. The souls of the just are in the hands of God. Eternal rest grant unto him, O Lord. Let perpetual light shine upon him. May he rest in God's peace. Amen.
Okay, John.
I don't know the words. I wish I knew them.
America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, wide with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home.
That concludes our ceremony. Thank you all for being here today. Come on up and say hello to the family and take a look at the sign. Thank you for all being here today. Thank you.